everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate. This is actually an update for my results as I'm joined by Miss Mona Cooley of Cool Family Solutions. And I told her in my last episode that I was going to go ahead and do this test and kind of guinea pig it and see what's happening. So we have the results and she's going to go through them with me. So you guys get to all hear about how crazy I am. Let's go through it. So hi, Mona.
Hello, Lisa. Good to be back again and us talking about this. And I want to first, before we start, you have an introduction. Thank you for being out there and just doing this. That
Absolutely.
takes courage.
No, you're welcome. But thank you for letting me to be a part of it. This is very interesting. It was funny because when she sent me the results and I was kind of like, well, wait a minute. I thought Mona was just going to get them. And then I'm like, do I look at them? And then I kind of glanced at them and I was like, I'm going to need Mona to come on anyway and talk to me about this because I don't understand some of these, because I'm kind of curious as to how it kind of came about with a couple of them, because there was a couple where there's like strengths, like where I need to strengthen. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. So let's have a conversation about it. So I think it's great.
I love it. That's what this is all about, because that's what happens in the sessions is we're having conversations, because sometimes you see something, whoa, I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. So Flourishing Life Growth Action Plan is what I did. And this is what I got. So I got a booklet. So yay me. And then it gives you your Sparks report, which is what we're going to go through too. And then it gives you the other one, which is in this report, the Flourishing Life report, but it's the Flourishing and Wellbeing profile. But yes, okay. So let's get into this. So
let's get to work and whatever. Yeah. So what I want to do first is I want everybody to know that, as I said, it's a strength-based program. Mm-hmm. So you're looking at, it's a questionnaire that you answer, and it filters out where your strengths are, but also some areas where you can grow. And we say those words grow. They are not weaknesses. And I will share a little bit of a story a little after this about how that affects, because there's certain things in life that affect where we're at, what's happening in our lives. And I've done two. I've done my first one and then I've done a second one. So it shows a comparison. And that's what I like to do in time with you, Lisa, as well, because this was your first one and this is where you are today. But then as you go through some of this, you may see some changes, or life gets in the way and certain things change, and you might be surprised how you're responding to it. Just to say that up front.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
So let's look at your first one. It's called Sparks. And I like to start with that. Yep, that's right. It's Sparks. It's giving you the 3 strengths that the profile showed that you had. 3 dominant strengths. Yep. And then there's 2 areas that you can grow in. And lots of times the ones that you're growing in can complement the strengths that you do have. Okay. And there is times too that your strengths that you already are showing in this is you're using them already, and you may see that with your own profile. So if you're open just to sharing what your 3 strengths are that came up, just the titles is all that's necessary at this point, and then we'll talk about it a bit more.
Okay. So the 3 strengths are integrity and courage, positive social skills, and sense of purpose were the 3.
Okay. What did you think of those 3 strengths that came up for you?
Accurate.
Accurate.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about each of them. Just a little bit of what makes you, I like to understand what's the reason you agree with that?
Okay. So there's little, like inside these documents, there's little tiny write-ups for them. So I'll read a little bit. So it says, you are honest and a genuine person. You have positive values that guide your thoughts and actions. You will speak the truth no matter what others might think. A person with strength lives in the authentic and genuine life. So I'm like, yes, that's true. I'm someone who will cause ripples in a lot of areas, and I'm not scared to do that. I'm not scared. I don't shy away from telling people truth. And some people will say, oh, well, Lisa, there's truth. And then there's, being nice about it. And I'm like, I'm not responsible for how you take my communication.
Right.
I'm like, that's your responsibility. I'm giving you some truth. I'm not out here saying, sometimes I do, but I'm not out here being like, you're a horrible fucking human. I'm out here saying like, you know what you did was really rude. And I didn't really care for it. And I think that there's a different approach you can take, but this isn't working for you.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's rude. And I'm like, oh, it's honest.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. We talked about it in our first session, didn't we? About the honesty. And I think I gave you an example of what that honesty meant is that's a trust factor. It became a trust factor. It's maybe hard to hear. And I had to hear hard stuff too. And I also shared that. So what about the second one? Where are you strong in your second one?
Positive social skills. So that one is, hang on one second. My child walked through the door and my dog is at daycare and she doesn't know. Because she'll be like, Mom, where's the dog? Okay, sorry. Second one is positive social skills. So positive social skills are skills we use every day to interact and communicate with others. This strength includes a wide range of skills. Being generous, respectful, polite, making eye contact, developing our social skills is critical for building and maintaining and growing your relationships with others. True. Right. My job is to people. When I say my job, it's part of a purpose. I'm peopling, right? So that is part of my purpose as well, because we have sense of purpose underneath, which we'll talk about. But I'm someone who, when someone is speaking to me, I engage. There was a time, Mona, where I was listening to respond. And I learned very quickly that is poor communication.
Right.
That everyone has something they want to say. Everybody has a moment where they want to have those conversations and add to them, even if it's their opinion, whether it's negative or positive. But we have to just try and be quiet, because I still find myself sometimes interrupting people, and I have to hold back and be like, no, I'm sorry, continue. Because they might touch on what I'm feeling some kind of way about. My emotions are my job to keep under control. So if they say something that really passionately affects me, negative or positively, I need to give them the space to hold the space to say, I need you to finish before I retort, so that maybe you'll cover whatever I'm feeling upset about in this moment, or I'm really happy about, right?
Right. And that was great. What you said is to listen, to really understand where they're at, because you're going to learn more if we interrupt or we don't, and then you can reflect back what they said. If I understood you right, this is what I heard. I want to make sure I'm hearing you, because that's the biggest issue today. People are not feeling heard. So even if you haven't got to the point of having a discussion further, good for you. And that's important to people. So what's your third one?
Sense of purpose. You know what you like to do and why it's important to you. Having a sense of purpose helps you make good decisions with great insight and confidence. Accurate.
Right. So these are 3 of your strengths, and that came out of your profile. So when and there's 2 that you're to work on. So let's just say the titles. We won't get you to read it, but just say the titles, and then we can go a little deeper further on in our conversation here. Sure. So the 2 that you got to work on, to grow on.
Emotionally aware and self-regulated, and self-kindness. Okay.
So those are the 2 is your strength. So now let's go to your flourishing and well-being profile and where it showed up. And then we can have a conversation and you can give your feedback in some of this and how you feel about it.
Okay.
Again, it's areas that we can take a look at and see where and what, and it's telling us, this profile is telling us where it came upon, where your strengths were, and where are the areas that you can grow in. So then you will see that there's an orange dot, there's a yellow dot, and there's a blue dot and a green. Yeah, they're all colorful, and it's pretty hard to see on there, but they are. But the thing is, it's significant challenge is the orange.
Mm-hmm.
And then the moderate challenge is the yellow. And so when you look at your profile, you'll see the yellow areas of what showed up. But
Mm-hmm.
then there is that strong, those strength areas that you have. So it's your moderate strength, and then, which is in blue, and green is a significant strength.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how all of that. Now, when you look at, and there's different departments in all of this,
Yep.
and the departments you will see on the Flourishing Life profile of you is the strengths, and then your perceptive and your opportunities, and then the score. And you will see that there is a sense of purpose. Look at that green one. That became one of your strengths, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then the other one was that to work on was emotional awareness, self-regulation. It
Mm-hmm.
was a yellow. So
Mm-hmm.
that's an area to grow in. And so it's telling you that these are the pieces that we're looking at. And that's strengths and opportunities, but then there's their personal perception and inner strengths. And we break it down, and you don't really have the sheets, but I can break it down for you a little bit by just talking about it.
Okay.
And we have what we call 3 pillars. And in the one pillar is personal strengths like self-awareness, social awareness, self-management, self-care. These are all personal areas. And that's your self-esteem, your empathetic, caring, emotional awareness. All of those are part of that whole thing. Then the second one is environmental, which is home, work, and peer influence, learning influence, community influence. All of those pieces come into play as well. That becomes part of your profile.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is the third pillar is your performance strengths, and that's your internal soft skills, which is what we need in the workplace, external soft skill traits, and then mastery of hard skills. So that's just a quick example of it. And like an example of an internal soft skill is perseverance, grit.
Mm-hmm.
And then external can be communication and
Mm-hmm.
listening. So this is how it's broken down. And then, of course, there's other other areas as well. But then that's what pillar 1. So when you look at pillar 1, that is your pillar 1 is about you. Personal strengths, it's all about you.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at that, and maybe I'll do the strengths and opportunities. What did you feel about what showed up for you as far as the strengths and far as what to work on? Let's do that one first. That was number 1, strengths and opportunities. I won't jump ahead.
Strengths and opportunities.
That's
Like
in
on.
your profile there. You'll see
Oh,
that emotional awareness. That's your flourishing and well-being profile.
hang on, I'm getting it.
That's all right.
Okay. There was a lot of them that I agreed with. I think where I got stumped is like the way some of the questions were worded. Like, I have a lot of close friends. No, I do not. I have close friends, but not a lot. I don't bring a lot of people. So to me, it was kind of one of those, like, I had to pit unsure because I'm like, I don't disagree that I have close friends, but I
Right.
disagree that I have a lot of them because I don't let a lot of people into everything, right? It's like
Right.
everybody has little bits and pieces of me, and then like 3 people have the whole picture.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I know what you're talking about because I ran into the same thing myself. That's why I do these, because
Mhm.
I want to talk from I've done it. It's not just having other people do it.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just going with it. But there were areas that I was unsure of, and that I guess that's a piece that's telling us, and this is what I felt. And you tell me what you feel. But I felt, I'm not over here and I'm not over here, but I am here.
Yeah.
So this is where I have to put it because
Mhm.
I'm not going to say it's strong, but that's maybe our hesitation or our unsureness of ourselves of
Mhm.
what that looks like to us.
I think it's also a truth factor, right? For me, it's a
It is
truth.
a truth factor.
I
It is
don't have a lot of good friends. I have very few good friends.
right. And so that's you being honest about it. And that's the key to this whole thing, is being really honest with yourself, just to show you where you're at and what's happening with you.
Yeah.
And be aware. Be aware. The more that we're aware of ourselves, our inner selves, our outer selves, all of those pieces, makes a huge difference. And like I said, I'm going to share something that was quite impactful that I learned in the process, but you're first and foremost. So
Okay.
now in pillar 1,
Mm-hmm.
you will see that you got strong areas and you got a few of the other areas to grow in. What did you feel about pillar 2, which is personal perception and inner strengths? Your thoughts.
Pillar 2. Hang on.
That's on, yeah, your flourishing profile. Yeah.
Okay, pillar
Well-being.
2, environmental influence and support. And you said which one? Sorry.
Okay, so pillar 1, remember I went to strengths and opportunities. Now, pillar 1 is personal perception and inner strengths on the same flourishing well-being profile. Just focus on it. The
You
one
said
with
pillar
all the
2.
dots.
No,
The
I
one,
got it. Pillar 2, what? Which one are you
yeah,
asking me to look again? Sorry.
pillar 1. So pillar 1 was personal perception.
Yeah.
What is it in that area that comes up for you that you learned maybe something about yourself?
Well, when it came back as self-management, emotional awareness, and self-regulation, I disagreed with it because I'm someone who's really big on being emotionally aware of how I'm feeling and what I need to do to make myself feel better. And like, if I need a few minutes, like even with my son, like even last night, he was like climbing all over me. And I said, honey, I love you so much, but mommy needs mom time. Like, I need to just zone out a little bit. I've got a lot on my head right now and mommy needs to zone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it wasn't yelling at him. It wasn't getting angry, but I could feel my frustration inside elevating. So instead of displaying that and becoming explosive at my son that didn't do anything wrong, I had to pull myself back and say, I'm feeling like this. It has nothing to do with you. So just give me a few minutes and I'll come and, snuggle up to you in a bit. So that's something that I've worked on really hard for the last couple of years. So when it came back as it wasn't super low, but it was kind of low. And I was like,
Just keep in mind when you said that there was something inside of you, the little frustration when that came up when you were talking to your son and everything else, and how you were feeling, and you maybe were trying to hold it a little bit inside. It's not showing it as much. I think you
right,
were trying to hold it inside. And
right.
I can deal with this. I can handle this. Would I
No,
be
it was
right in
I
saying
don't want
that?
to deal with him, but I don't want to hurt him or hurt his feelings or
Right,
yell at him because I know that I have an explosive temper. So, and I know that
right.
about myself. So
Yeah,
instead of, he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't doing anything wrong. So for
yeah,
me, I have to self-regulate. And in order to self-regulate, I need to calm down and tell
right.
him this. But I understand what you're saying. I see where you're going with it is it's like, are you being truthful to yourself of what you're feeling? And it's like, maybe there's aspects about it where I'm frustrated because I don't want to be laid on by my child. I just want to be left
Yes,
alone to kind
yes,
of just decompress.
yeah.
And my child is and that's the thing is that a lot of us parents, where I've changed my view, is that a lot of us parents will be like, oh, they're here, they just want to do that, whatever, don't get mad at them, they don't see you, but they make excuses of to why kids can get away with things. Oh, I can't do this because my kids, I don't want to do this because of my kids. Whereas I'm like, no.
No, no,
Yeah, I'm just like, no, my kids are old enough to wipe their butts and make their dinners and do their laundry and clean up their space. So for me, I'm like, you're not at a point where you are now a dependent in the same way you once were. Which
okay.
means that when I'm feeling very overwhelmed or I'm feeling overstimulated, I can take that minute and not worry about you dying.
You know, and thank you for being this honest, because I really appreciate that, because it's being honest. And I feel this way, and lots of times, and it's one of the things that comes up quite often. is how do I express myself when I am feeling frustrated with this. It's not you, it's I'm feeling, but saying it. Because I know that young people and others sometimes don't know how to express those feelings that they may be feeling.
Yeah.
And you saying that I'm just frustrated right now with myself of this, and I'm just needing time to really touch base with what I need to do about that, because it's nothing to do with you, but it's to do with me. But I am feeling that.
Mm-hmm.
That honesty, sometimes a child or somebody else could say the same thing and be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it's keeping that, it's a perspective for you
Yeah.
to just hear.
Mm-hmm.
And that, and I say this sincerely, is I grew up, I had lots of feelings and I would say what I thought and felt and everything. And it wasn't the most effective way, let me tell you. But the thing is, there was lots of times I stuffed what I really felt,
Yeah.
and that started to play on me. And it didn't serve me well, because then I started reacting. I started doing different things that I really didn't appreciate about what I was doing. It was
Mm-hmm.
because I was stuffing my feelings. And I think the concern I had was, well, I going to be feel heard or understood, or is anybody going to pay attention to how I feel at this point? It's just, I just want to express it, but I held back.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that
know
didn't
exactly
make,
what you're talking about. Yeah. Sorry.
yeah. Go ahead, Lisa.
No,
What were
I
you
was gonna
saying?
say I know exactly what you're talking about because I too was the explosive person that pushed a lot of other feelings down and then exploded about other things. And there were lots of things that I did. Like a lot of people give me, it's funny, like I'm praised by certain people by one for one attribute, and other people don't praise it. And at the end of the day, I'm like, it doesn't matter what either one of you think, it matters what I think.
Yeah.
So it's kind of where my headspace goes nowadays. Because like I'm the type of person that I'm very, what's the word I'm looking for? Impulsive. It's like, I'm gonna start a new company. Start a new company. Let's go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. And
$500 in the bank. Let's go. Start a new
yeah,
company. Let's do it.
that's right.
And it's impulsive. I believe in me, right? I believe in blind faith. I just jump and I go. And so then like there's people that are like, oh my God, like, aren't you terrified? And I'm like, no.
Yeah. And I think too, the other part to this is to understand, like sometimes that impulsiveness and that putting it out there is sometimes it's needing to be, how can I calm myself maybe in those moments, just to calm in a moment rather than that burst out, is keeping that in mind, because I understand what you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
because I was similar. But I've learned, if I'm going to help or coach or people here, I'm needing to be calm within myself and be able to express it in a calmer way so it's heard a little
Mm-hmm.
bit better. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I've had to learn. And believe me, on the farm, that wasn't the case. And that's what I had to change with my daughter. When I was reacting, not I was, that reaction or that impulsive came out of me quicker, because that's what I had to do many times. But I had to learn not to hold it in, which I did for a time, but then I started to learn, how can I express it in a calm way so that it gets heard and people maybe are more receptive. That's a
Fair.
perspective.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fair. Like I'm not angry about it. I was more or less surprised about it. I mean, at
Yep,
first I was kind of like
absolutely.
what?
Yeah.
Like I don't think so. And I mean, like I can appreciate the perspectives that everybody has. For me, I'm someone who I don't put a whole lot of thought in some of the things that I do. I wing a lot of things. Like I wing it. And I think that's what kind of works for me is that I'm
Yeah.
someone who just wings it. And
Yeah.
because if I put too much thought into it, I won't do it.
Oh dear. Yeah. You're
Mhm.
being in the moment, Lisa. That's
Yeah.
what it is you're being in the moment. And there's going to be times, and I am going to share a story where that, because I had something similar as yours as a challenge, that emotional irregulation. And I'm going to share something, and it's going to surprise you actually out of it all. But that piece, when I saw it, it was just to stop and think for a minute before I put it out there.
Yeah.
That was what it was saying. And I thought to myself, okay, I thought I was stopping, but I've caught myself when I wasn't stopping to think for a little minute. You don't need it, and then say it, but in a better tone or calmness or whatever, just so that it's maybe heard stronger. And I'm with you because I had the same thing to work on. So I'm being honest with you. So that's just something we can, and I'll share that other story later. So now let's go to pillar 2. What did I see, because I've got your profile. What did you think there? Environment, influence, and support strengths.
All right, let's go there. I didn't really look all this over super well because
No.
I told everybody that I would do it as a surprise and we would do it. So when I got it, I was like, don't look it over too much. We'll go over it.
No.
Let's see. Connectedness, valued, safe, belonging is significant strength. Let's see.
What colors did you see there in that section?
Blue and green.
So you're moderate to strong in those areas. So it's a very strong place for you, Lisa. And pay attention to that, because that's that environment, your support strengths, all of those pieces are so important. And that becomes your home life, your work role, your peer influence, all of those areas. So you're very strong in that. And that's likely why you do very well in the workplace and where you are doing what you do in the workplace and how you approach things. It's coming across and you're very comfortable with it. And it is your strength. It is. So very strong.
Thank you, Mona. And I'm going to tell you right now that there's probably a lot of employers that would disagree with you and tell you that I was a goddamn nightmare. But I excelled so well at this because I'm my own boss.
Yeah. Well, there you go. And you know what? It's good. It's almost ironic how similar we are, Lisa. To be very honest with you, because I think I was a nightmare once in a while to managers too. But the thing is, we're strong in that area, and that's where the strengths are, and that's a good thing. And pay attention to that. What's the reason for that? And it's your home life. It's connectedness. You talked about your 12-year-old son and your children and how that worked, and work and role. Well, it's connection again. You know, you're a connector, and you said that even before we started this.
Yeah.
I'm a connector. And peer influence, positive friends, whatever, shared values, and learning influence, achievement, and community influence, and connectedness was the key thing. When you look at that, you're a connector. And I validate that because you and I connected, and you've been very supportive to me. So you're good at this.
It's not wrong. I mean, I try. Let's be realistic.
Yeah. So, but that's what's showing on here today. Okay. So that's where we are. So pillar 3 is performance skills and character strengths. And look at that one now is, again, that's the area of the performance. That's your internal soft skills, that perseverance and grit, those type of things. Growth
pillar
mindset.
3, right?
Okay?
Sorry, pillar 3, right?
Yep, pillar 3. Yeah. So managing stress, you manage it. You're in a very strong field in the sense where you've got to manage your stress and everything else, but it's perceptiveness, your growth, and then external soft skills, communication, and all of these pieces come into it as well as other skill sets such as knowledgeable and intuitive, critical thinker, problem solver. Do you think any of those fit you?
No. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I love how you just brought that across like that. So I've got the proof right in front of me. So these are the things that are showing you where the strengths are, and it's working. I want you to know that it's working because you're out there, and this is your profile. You're telling the truth. You're honest. You were honest with your evaluation, and you've done it. So that's what's key. So then those are the pieces, and this is where how they came up with the areas of where your sparks was in that the three strengths.
Mm-hmm.
And now the piece is the piece we'll work on a little bit today. And I'm thinking we'll just do a small thing today, for you, just to have a taste of it. But then in yours, it was the emotionally aware and self-regulated.
Mm-hmm.
That was one area. And
Yep.
one was self-kindness. Now, a little bit of homework for you. If you were to choose one to grow in, which one would you pick out of the two that it's saying to see just a little bit more success in that area?
Are you asking or are you telling me it's my
I'm
homework?
asking you, which one would you pick to work on?
I don't know. I need to catch up and read it. Hang on, I'm a fast reader, Mona. Hang on. I just wanted
All right, I'll keep you on tight here. Wait.
wanted you to finish what you were saying. Because if I start reading it before you finish and I stop listening to you.
That's all right. So let's pick the one that you feel resonates with you, that you want to work on.
I feel like my kids and my significant other would say emotionally aware and self-regulate. I think that's the one they would pick, if I'm being honest. Like, just thinking about, so I'll read it so everyone kind of knows what it says. So they're not like, who would say, Lisa? It's like, being aware and learning to express your feelings in positive ways is a strength that successful people have learned. It is your personal belief and feelings that make you unique. Explore and embrace all of them. Even when experiencing challenges, you can express your feelings in a positive way. They would probably say, yeah, Mom, you don't have real positive way of expressing your feelings.
I was going to ask you, what are they saying?
My daughter mocks me to a T, and it's awful, but it's hilarious. She's so funny. She's 14 and she comes upstairs and she'll start mocking me. And my significant other is sitting there and he's looking at me and he's like, do you talk like that? And I'm like, what happened? What?
Yeah, like I said, we said in the sessions, people are watching, especially our kids.
Like, oh shit. I might get my daughter, it's so, I can't help it. I've always been someone to laugh at myself. I'm not someone that when my kids mock me, I'm like, listen. No. I'm like, yeah, you did good. That's accurate. That sounds about right. She'll say things like, so what will happen? And I'm like, she's doing the splits, right? So it's like, you don't know the situation. She's just giving you the funny portion of what I would say. So it'd be like, I've had a bad day. I've asked the kids to do chores multiple times. They're not doing chores. My daughter walks upstairs. I'm now elevated. I'm now overstimulated. I'm now fried. And I'm like, and so then I'll say things to her like, you need to get my vape or shit's going to get ugly. And she's just like, and that's what she'll say to me. She'll just repeat that back. And I'm like, there's no context. I don't just say that like a psycho. I'm like, come on.
I know.
There's some validity in it, okay? I'm overstimulated. Shit could happen. You need to just get me my vape. It's self-soothing.
So there, that's it. And it's certain things, and see if this resonates with you or not. But there's certain things I can keep calm in these situations, but then there's this over here that really gets to me, right? Mm-hmm. And that's where my own family pick up on it too. Don't kid yourself. You're not alone with this. But this is the pieces that I think picking that one is an area that it'll come stronger in a place where you don't think it'll come strong in how you approach certain things and how you do it. It's just asking you to maybe just think and take time before you respond sometimes. That's what it is. And there's certain situations. I'm going to share something with you right now at this spot because I think it'll resonate with you a bit. I did one in January, a profile, and then I did one in October.
Okay.
And certain situations in our life will affect us, and we don't know how it always affects us. We think we do, but sometimes we don't. And what happened was in January, when I did my profile, emotionally aware and self-regulated was the piece that I chose to focus on because it was one of the areas to grow in.
Okay.
And this was in January. So I got thinking about it. Well, yeah, I've seen myself spew my frustrations out, and my husband's had to listen to it and go to Starbucks and get me a tea to calm me down and make me smile or something like this. And I paid attention to it because I was thinking, like you, I thought I had this under control more than I realized. And this is where it was. So that became the one piece. And then I did another profile in October, but in between January and October, my husband had open heart surgery.
Okay.
And we nearly lost him. It was a very emotional, very challenging time for everyone, our family and everything like that, whole piece and everything else. Now, you would think at that point when you're going through something like that, that's when things would not be going well emotionally and everything else. And how you're handling that piece of it that I was needing to do. And so I did my profile. I did it a second time because I wanted to see this comparison. I really wanted to assess myself to see what had come through. I knew how I handled certain things, and I thought, maybe I could have been better here or whatever. Now, here came the strange thing is it became in that time frame where it was August that everything started. He had his operation September 9th. That's when we almost thought we had lost him, but then he was 2 weeks in the hospital and then coming home. So I did a comparison, and I picked the emotional awareness, self-regulation piece. And it says, the part of it was, here were the things to work on. Think before acting. Tune into low feeling, which helps to greet emotions in a healthier way. So just that. Process emotions before reacting to them. So process. And you were doing some of this already when we talked, when you mentioned, right? This is the space between emotion and reaction. And this is the key thing allowed. Understanding feelings and adjust emotional control. So I had to understand my feelings in this whole process. I really had to talk to myself. I had to, how do I control it? I journaled. I did different things like that just to put it out there. And allows able to supervise and even alter emotional when you need to. And there was times when certain things came up and I was not happy to hear certain things from my family members. Yeah. But they had their emotions and their feelings too. And so instead of at one time, I would have reacted. And this time I thought, okay, keep in mind, we're in this situation. I feel this at the moment. Let me go and process it and think about it. And let me go into a better place. Rather than I might have lashed out because of the emotions that were involved and everything else. And that was the piece that I was learning. And I was learning more about myself, asking myself, okay, Mona, you felt this. What was the reason you felt? So asking myself tough questions to see what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And doing that. When I did my profile on October 4th, in that strong piece there, first it was a piece I had to work on. It was my strongest. It was my strongest. And that was the piece that was interesting, because without me really thinking about it, I was really processing in a different way to what I was doing before.
Mm-hmm.
So it was something to share. But the other piece that showed up was the cognitive flexibility. And that's where I wasn't taking care of myself. I didn't have compassion for myself. I wasn't being as kind to myself, and all those pieces. So I had to turn around and work on that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's ironic where it was one to grow in. Obviously, I worked on it enough in it to grow.
Yep.
Then the other piece was I had to work on was this care, which I teach. I needed to practice it harder than anybody to really bring it back, that I did take care of myself, even though I was the caregiver. So that was interesting just to see that and where that growth is and where it can shift because of a situation. Lisa, that's what I'm trying to make a point.
Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying. It's until you are made consciously aware of it, because it's a lot of times it's subconscious and you don't realize it, and then it gets said to you and you're almost kind of like, what?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, I've been working on this, and no. And so that's why when you said pick one you're going to need to work on, and I had to like really ask myself, like, which one
will I pick?
Maybe we would go with that emotional self-regulation, because maybe I need some work there.
Maybe I need a touch there.
Right? So, I mean, it's fair. It is what it is. But
it is. Yeah.
I super appreciate you going through it with me, Mona. I'm going to wrap this one up so that people can, sit down and think about it. So, get a hold of Mona Cooley at Cool Family Solutions. You can reach her at Mona, or you want to do info?
Do Mona.Cooley at coolfamilysolutions.com.
Okay. And it's the Flourishing Life
profiles. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
Yeah.
So
that's what we went through.
Thank you so much for being with me today. Hang tight, because I will talk to you afterward. But so if anybody has any questions, you guys can always go ahead and send me an email, lisa@lpmenterprises.net, and I will answer any of your questions or put you in touch with Mona if you'd like that. Other than that, have a wonderful day and don't do anything crazy.